Support comes from Soaring Heart Natural Beds, where concern for the health and safety of sleep now extends to everything from curbside pickup and delivery to secure in-store appointments. Showrooms in Seattle, Bellevue, and now in Edmonds, or online at soaringheart.com.
Hey there, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Monday. This is Seattle Now. Space tourism takes one giant step forward tomorrow. That's when the first passenger flight of Kent-based Blue Origin will take off with Jeff Bezos on board. In a minute, GeekWire's Alan Boyle will explain why this launch matters, even for people like you and me who can't afford a $28 million ticket. But first, let's get you caught up. Governor Inslee says there's no plan to bring back a mask mandate, even as LA reinstated theirs this weekend as the Delta variant drives a new round of infections. Cases in King County have been ticking up since the June 30th reopening, although hospitalizations and deaths are still very low. Almost all the new cases are in unvaccinated people. But at least one top researcher at the UW's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation disagrees with the governor. Dr. Ali Muqdad thinks we need to require masks again before it's too late. He says the honor system didn't work. Seattle has emergency plans for snowstorms and earthquakes, but no playbook for how to handle extreme heat like last month's 3-day scorcher. Seattle Times reports that just 2 of the city's 26 community centers have AC, and only 1 in 5 water fountains were even turned on during the heat wave. The Times says the city doesn't have a list of air-conditioned buildings or places where vulnerable seniors might live. At least 91 people died across Washington in the heat, most of them elderly or homeless. And it's a big week for Seattle hockey fans. On Wednesday night, the Kraken will get some players. As the NHL's brand new franchise, the team gets to grab one player from all 30 teams in the league's expansion draft. The best players have already been taken off the table. At least we think that's how it works. We're pretty new to hockey here at Seattle Now, so we'll have a whole show coming this week trying to explain. Seattle-based Blue Origin will launch its first passenger trip to space tomorrow with Jeff Bezos himself on board. The flight will kick off Blue Origin's space tourism program, and the hype around this thing has everything, including a feud with competing space-faring billionaire Richard Branson. Last week, he was on the first passenger flight by his company, Virgin Galactic. Alan Boyle is here to tell us more about this space race and the big personalities on board. He's a longtime space and science journalist, contributing editor to GeekWire, and co-host of the Fiction Science podcast. Hey, Alan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Really glad to have you. So you have Branson's company, Virgin Galactic, and Jeff Bezos' company, Blue Origin, both getting ready to offer these passenger flights to space. Let's talk about what it is actually like to go to space. What happens on one of these flights?
Okay, well, the experience is different for Virgin Galactic as opposed to Blue Origin. Virgin Galactic has a rocket plane that looks a little bit like a high-tech airplane that is carried up to an altitude of about 45,000 feet on a carrier airplane. And so, like, the first 45 minutes of a space tourist's flight is making that ascent in what feels like an airplane up to an altitude of 45,000 feet. And then the plane is dropped from the belly of the carrier airplane. The rocket motor is lit up, and you've got a minute of huge acceleration as that rocket engine pushes you up past the 50-mile mark. And then at the top of the ride, when the rocket motor turns off, you have this feeling of weightlessness. It's just because of the way that the vehicle behaves when it's in free flight. It's not like, oh, gee, I'm in outer space and of course I'm weightless because of that. It's because of the trajectory of the plane. And so for 4 minutes or so, you're in free fall, basically. Wow. It's like you're falling from a building, but you're inside a rocket plane. And you get to see the curving Earth beneath the black sky of space, and that's the big moment. And then you have to get back into your seat because when you hit the atmosphere again, you have another jolt of acceleration of several Gs. And so it's like a roller coaster ride. Now, the Blue Origin experience is different. Instead of coming down to a gliding landing as the Virgin Galactic rocket plane does, you go up on a vertically launched rocket. You have a rocket booster that's beneath your capsule, and that pushes you up to 62 miles or 100 kilometers. That's the boundary that Blue Origin is shooting for. At that point, it's a little bit similar that you do have a free fall experience. You get out of your seat, you unhook the straps, you can float around, you can look through some big picture windows.
The biggest picture windows,
that's right.
Alan.
They've got bigger windows than Virgin Galactic, so, there's a little bit of envy going on here. But it's similar in that for those few minutes, you can float around, and then you strap back into your seats. You feel that G-force as you go back through the atmosphere. And in this case, the parachute's open. You're not gliding to a landing in a plane. You are coming down in a capsule at the end of a parachute. The retro rockets fire briefly just before you land, and then you're back in the West Texas rangeland. Somebody drives out and picks you up, and hopefully they've got some champagne waiting for you.
What an absolutely incredible experience. I'm going to speak for the terrified majority out here who will probably never be able to afford, let alone set foot on a space flight. This sounds so exciting. Why is it important, though? Because so few people will be able to attain this. Why does this matter right now?
Well, all these people, whether it's Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson or Elon Musk, they have bigger visions for what space flight is going to mean in the long run. For Elon Musk, the things that he's doing set the stage for sending people to Mars and making humanity into a multi-planet species. For Jeff Bezos, it's the idea of having millions of people living and working in space, and that this is an initial step. In fact, the capsule for this flight is called First Step. That's the actual name of the spaceship. And this is the way things usually work in technology, is that the first flights are pretty expensive. It's pretty exclusive. Virgin Galactic has talked about getting things down to the SUV level, where taking a space flight would cost roughly the same as buying an SUV. And so it's not something that somebody is just going to do on the spur of the moment, and it's not something you're going to do every year. But for some people, that's going to be worth saving up for and doing as a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And then the knowledge and the revenue gained from those ventures would be put into creating the next steps toward, building an infrastructure in space, building an economy, having space settlements on the moon, that whole thing that is supposed to lead to having a spacefaring civilization and the sorts of things that we read about in science fiction. So you got to start somewhere, and this is where these billionaire space geeks are starting.
You talked a little bit about Elon Musk and SpaceX here. Where is he on his trajectory to getting something out in space?
Well, last year, SpaceX began flying NASA astronauts to the International Space Station on their Crew Dragon spaceships. And now Elon Musk and SpaceX are working on a much larger launch system called Starship. And that is going to be a huge rocket that is supposedly going to be capable of sending people and payloads to the moon. They recently won a contract award from NASA for sending the first astronauts to the lunar surface since the Apollo era, and that could happen as early as 2024, although 2025 or 2026 is much more likely. And then Starship would be used eventually to launch people to settle on Mars. That is kind of the big idea that Elon Musk has for, the decade ahead.
Wow.
So there's lots to look forward to.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. And I know that, we're making a lot of hay here right now about how the ordinary individual could not experience something like this. But honestly, this is truly exciting and it sounds extraordinary. You must be excited as a space journalist.
Come
on,
yeah,
Alan.
I'm of two minds about it. It is wild to see the things that people have talked about for 2 decades. I've been following this story about commercial spaceflight for 2 decades, and it is wild to see that multiple teams are actually turning it into a reality. But on the other hand, I like the science fiction side of it, and I'm almost sad to see it not be science fiction anymore. I don't know if you can get that, but it's no longer this wonderful dream. It's a reality, and all the things that come with reality, including competition and bad feelings between business executives and cutthroat deals, and it's getting real. And there are some parts of that are not as pleasant as others.
Yeah. Yes. Reality is complicated. Well, for better or for worse, Jeff Bezos blasts off tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific time if everything goes according to plan. Alan Boyle, space journalist. Really great to talk with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for spending some time with us. If you haven't already done it, drop us a review. Claire McGrane produced today's show. Our production team is Caroline Chamberlain-Gomez and Jason Pagano. Diana Opong does our social media. Follow us on Instagram at Seattle Now Pod. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tomorrow.